News now with an interview with a familiar face. I'm joined by Bruce Dickinson. Hi Bruce, how are you doing?
Good. Enjoying myself.
Good. Well, I was going to start off by asking you actually, I think this is your first or second time here at Concrete. What do you think of the whole convention and what's going on here over the 3 days?
It's kind of interesting, this idea of getting everybody that's in any way involved with, hard rock and heavy metal music together in one place. So they can conspire to rule the world next week. It's the first time I've actually spent longer than about 5 minutes here. I was only here for like half an hour a couple of years ago and then whisked off back to Mexico City. We had a gig to do.
I remember that,
yeah, but we headlined it last night, and it was good. It's always strange headlining like a posse of journalists because everybody they all kind of sit there like rocket scientists taking notes. It's like, oh come on, get alive, enjoy yourselves.
Absolutely. I mean, to somebody that hadn't been here, how would you sum this event up in like 2 or 3 sentences?
Oh, it's the world's biggest hangover.
Ah, I like that. Good description. Well, we want to go on and talk about your new album, Balls to Picasso, which is Bruce's first official solo album since leaving Iron Maiden. I think, we've pretty much covered your reasons for leaving Iron Maiden. Now, working as a solo artist, you've got no limits in the style of music you can employ. You can meet new musical horizons. Was that one of the reasons why actually you went through so many stages of recording this album?
Yeah, well, it was both a learning process and an unlearning process as well, because you've got 12 years of doing things a particular way, and there's also a lot of times where there's a lot of music gone under the bridge, a lot of that you haven't had a chance to try out.
Right.
So I spent a couple of albums doing everything from like gospel tunes to pop songs to like ridiculously heavy things to strange fusion things and jazzy things, just like mucking around. And it's kind of the most expensive demos in history, but there you go. I ended up with Balls to Picasso, and I'm devastatingly happy with it. So that's the main thing.
Of course.
We got the right result in the end.
I think from what I've read and so on and what I've heard of the album, the catalyst for you really came when you hooked up with Roy Z from Tribe of Gypsies. Tell us a little bit about the inspiration that he's given to you.
Well, Roy was a great sounding board because he was a big fan of like all the stuff I did in Samson and like early Maiden stuff I did. And we also shared a lot of common things that we liked in music. And we were talking just very loosely about we should write 1 or 2 songs once in a while, because I was a big fan of the stuff that he was doing with Tribe of Gypsies, and we wrote 2 or 3 tunes, and the idea was we were going to stick them onto the record I did with Keith Olsen, kind of heavy it up a little bit, and then that turned into 4 tunes, and then I said, well, we'll bring the band over to England, and that's to say the Tribe of Gypsies, we'll bring them over and we'll start taking it from there. And then the next thing was we wrote a couple of extra tunes in the studio, and I phoned up Merck, and said, my manager, and said, look, can do another album, man. I mean, so we ended up with 10 whole new songs. But it was very good because everybody had this feeling for what I should be doing, and it was great to have a sounding board like that, to jump off,
And working with new people and so on is also very inspiring, isn't it?
Absolutely, and now I've got the live band together with like, young we, I've got a Scotsman, a Welshman, and an Italian in it, and everybody's under 24, so we've got this whole like European vibe live, which is like real hard-edged,
Well, I want to talk about Bruce Dickinson live a little bit later on in the next interview segment, but we are going into the video, the first video from Balls to Picasso, and this is such an artistic video, and gladly you didn't catch pneumonia in the process.
I didn't, I was really surprised actually.
So would you like to introduce it for us?
Yeah, this is Tears of the Dragon, and get your flippers on.
Bruce, as we were saying, this has marked a new beginning to you. You've got no boundaries, no limits. I was just really wondering, what has surprised people most about this record? What kind of feedback have you had from people?
Nobody was expecting what it sounded like, is the reaction. And people went, wow, it's kind of different, but it still sounds like you. And I was like, yeah, well, that's sort of what we intended, which is great. It doesn't sound Oh, well, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't sound like Maiden.
No.
It doesn't sound like anything I've done before, but it's still, if you're, you know, if you want the identifiable bits of my voice, they're in there, but also lots of different, pushing into little different areas that open up possibilities for the future. You know, there's about 4 or 5 different directions on this album. It all works together, but it's great for the future because I've closed no doors on this record. You know, that's the idea.
Yeah. Now, for your part, I know you've just had a new baby a few weeks ago, and I would imagine that one of the good things about your situation is you've got control over all your activities and what you're doing, and you can actually work out your life so you can do your band stuff and have your family life as well.
Yeah, although the way things are shaping up in terms of touring, I mean, I'm going to be a road dog for the foreseeable future, you know. So I guess the family are going to have to do a fair bit of travelling, you know, because I think, you know, they all realise and I realise that, you know, this is too important a record to just kind of go, I'm satisfied now. I'm not satisfied, you know.
Still hungry. But I mean, it's nice for you also that you can have complete creative control over all the different aspects of the band, videos, you know, album cover, all those things as well.
Yeah, although I'm pretty haphazard about some of those things, because I'm a believer that things, you know, if all the good things happen by accident. So if good accidents haven't happened, I tend to delay things, which drives people completely crazy because they all want to work to schedules. And I'm like, no, the accident hasn't happened yet. The creative thing hasn't happened yet. You know, people are like, well, you know, we need the photograph by Monday. I'm like, well, I don't know, you know, it doesn't feel right, this photograph, you know. So that's about the extent of my occasional fits of artistic temperament. If that's it, then that's okay.
We talked a little bit about your touring band, a bunch of very young guys. Could you tell us how you got the band together?
Accident. Met Alex in the pub, and I've known him for 5 years. Always thought he was a brilliant guitarist. And I said, what you doing? And he said, what a job, man, you know, because Gunn sort of let him go because they're running short of money and stuff. And I said, well, come down to the studio and listen to this record I'm making. And he got it straight away. He was like, that's great. And so I said, well, do you want a job? Yeah, so that was one.
Easy.
And then Alessandro and Chris, the drummer and bass player, Mikey Gray, said he happened to know of this really cool rhythm section. And so I hooked up with them. We had a couple of sessions and I said, do you want the job? And they said, yeah, and that was it. It was as simple as that. And we didn't do any auditions. We didn't, you know, demand zillions of tapes from people or anything. It felt right, it was right. And there comes a point when you just take a leap of faith. And as long as you commit to people, they commit back, you know.
Something that surprised me actually when I saw Bruce playing last night was you actually playing a little bit of rhythm guitar as well.
Yeah, a little bit being the operative word there, you know, just on Tears of the Dragon, really, just to fill it out a bit in the guitar solo, you know.
Well, you've got this European tour coming up, which we've already been telling you about on Headbangers Ball, and your expectations for getting out and playing in Europe on this extensive tour.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is in many ways is like Europe to the part one, because we're not playing Spain and Portugal. We're only doing one show in Italy. We're doing a few things in France, you know, so in many ways, we're doing Scandinavia as well and doing England. But in many ways, we're trying to keep it low-key because we're in this, we're in it, me and the band, for the long haul, you know. So I'd rather play to a small place, sell it out, have it packed, and have everybody go away like, you know, buzzing, than try and go for some big, you know, big ass production and everything and fall flat on your face. And like I say, the idea is, you know, I don't care whether it's, you know, a room with one person in or 1,000 or 100,000. It's the same show. It's the same commitment, the same intensity. That's it.
Well, we look forward to that, and courtesy of EMI Records, we'd like to invite you to come out on the road with Bruce on his European tour. and you'll get to see Bruce and your support band Skin, and then the following day the lucky winner will travel on to the city of Cologne to hook up with the Almighty on the Pantera European Tour. So that's a fantastic prize. If you'd like to enter the competition, all you have to do is name the 3 current albums from the 3 bands involved, namely Bruce Dickinson, Skin and the Almighty. Put your answer on a postcard along with your name, age, address and telephone number, and send it to the usual address, EMI on the Road Competition, MTV's Headbangers Ball, PO Box 1384, London NW1 8UH in England. Phew.
It will be well wicked.
Good. Well, thanks very much for joining me, Bruce, and it was great to see you in fine action last night. Very happening, good band you've got there. Bruce out on tour next few weeks, as we said, in Europe. On Headbangers Ball, though, we have to take our